There are more than 10,000 illegal puppy mills in the United States. More than 2 million dogs are forced to breed puppies every year in horrible, painful conditions. But there are places like the Humane Society of Utah, Paws for Life, Best Friends Animal Society, dedicated to the elimination of pain, fear, and suffering in all animals. Places like this help save these helpless dogs. And there are people who help prevent puppy mills, like Deanne Shepard.
My name's Deanne Shepard. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications for the Humane Society of Utah. Well, puppy mills are more of a problem than I think most people give them credit for. Basically what a puppy mill is a commercial, kind of agricultural mass production of dogs, and unfortunately they're kept in what we would consider inhumane conditions. Under the USDA guidelines, they give minimum standards of care, but that's what they're supposed to be, or minimum suggestions, and that means that a dog can be kept in a cage that is only 6 inches longer than the dog's body. So unfortunately you get some dogs that are kept on wire floors in these small cages their entire lives simply to breed, and then the puppies are taken so early from them to send to a store that the puppies unfortunately are not socialized and taught very critical things that they need to know from their mother, and you have increased chances for medical problems as well, from inbreeding or just from illness and disease because the conditions are so bad. When you come to a shelter, our dogs are already spayed and neutered, vaccinated, and microchipped. Even if we don't know where they came from originally, if they were transferred into us from another shelter, if they were purchased at a store and then surrendered to us later, we still look at the overall health and behavior of that animal and consult with the adopter to make sure it's the right fit. When you purchase from a store, most of the time they're getting their pets from irresponsible backyard breeders or puppy mills. Where you're getting your pet from, do some research and meet with the owner of the pet before you just buy and not know where they got their dogs from, because most of the time they're getting those dogs from either a puppy mill or a backyard breeder. A breeder who is not spaying near their dog, that will allow their dog to reproduce until the point where the dog is no longer viable. Those dogs then end up usually in a shelter because they're no longer useful for the breeder. And for puppy mills especially, we unfortunately see dogs that come from those conditions that have been in terrible, neglected situations. They're sick. They have very poor behavior. They're not potty trained because they've just been kept in that cage their whole lives, and now they've been surrendered to us, and we have to try to help them and find a home. An animal's being kept in a small enclosure their entire lives. Medically, they're going to just be susceptible to a lot of illnesses, and I mean, that can be anything. That can run the gamut from just getting what we call kennel cough, which is like a dog flu, or anything more severe, and that can be just like the gamut of, I would say, any illness is susceptible to an animal who's kept in a very stressful condition where they're not having their veterinary care or healthy environment with good food and water provided. Right now is just what you're doing by spreading awareness. I don't think a lot of people really think about what a puppy mill is. They may see some footage online of sad dogs in small cages with wire, and it just is heartbreaking to see that these dogs are kept in those conditions. But that's what we think of as a puppy mill, that kind of factory farming of dogs. I would also invite you to expand that out to just backyard breeders. People who have their dogs, they breed them, they make a quick buck by selling the litter, and then they breed their dogs again to do the same. So the dogs are continually used just for breeding. They're not really given the best opportunity to socialize their puppies because the puppies are taken so soon to be sold in a store, and that just increases the chance for the puppy to get sick. If they're not receiving their vaccinations when they should be, if they're not receiving that socialization, then that's going to cause a public safety concern to put those dogs into our community and then ultimately end up in a shelter for us to take care of. So educate and just know where you're getting your dog from. When you purchase a dog in Utah, there's no lemon law. So there's nothing to protect you. If you buy a dog and go home and the dog gets sick, you're now responsible for its care. You may not see them, so people are like, oh, we don't have puppy mills in Utah, but when you think about where these dogs come from stores in Utah, they are also bringing puppy mills, puppies in from out of state and even out of the country. So some stores will bring puppies in from like the East Coast or even out of the country from larger puppy mills. But if you look at just a backyard breeder, it's almost like a smaller version of that as well. Right now, the Humane Society of Utah is actively working on ordinances to stop the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in pet stores. And Salt Lake County passed this ordinance a couple years ago, and Sandy City, thank goodness, just passed this actually yesterday. So now we're talking with other cities to try to convince them that it's a good thing to allow pet stores to work with shelters and rescues and adopt the animals out through their store, as opposed to buying up puppies and selling them for profit. And the more that we can work with these ordinances to pass that will decrease the act of a pet store selling puppies, then that should start to stop the puppy mill. California banned the sale of puppies statewide, and all those puppy mills that used to be able to bring their puppies into those stores now are going to be looking for other places, and we don't want them to come to Utah. So we just need to make sure that all the pet stores responsibly work in a humane model with shelters to adopt instead of bringing in more puppy mill dogs.
There are people who rescue puppies instead of buying them from a breeder. Like Kelly Queel.
Hi, my name is Kelly Queel. I have 2 dogs. We adopted my dogs through Rescue Rovers. They are based solely online, and they have foster homes all over Utah. We decided that there were enough animals that needed a home. We really wanted to focus on finding a pet that needed a home. One of my dogs actually had a broken leg when we rescued her, but she was able to heal really quickly. Her leg healed almost immediately, and she's running around like crazy now. When my dog had her broken leg, we had to take her to several vet appointments to have her leg wrapped. And she was just a little puppy with a leg cast, so she needed to have it re-wrapped pretty often at the vet. And then after about a week and a half or so, she got to take it off. I am very grateful that we chose to rescue animals and give these 2 animals a home.
Don't let the dogs live the nightmare. Let the dogs experience the dream.